All right, so it's the beginning of Lent 2021. One of my best memories of 2020 was when I went on my first 48-hour fast. I think it was the first 48-hour fast in my lifetime. I can't seem to remember ever going that far. And my inspiration was talking to a friend of mine who wanted to quit smoking for Lent. And he said that he was going to quit smoking for 40 days. And I got really worried for him because he said for 40 days, as if he was sacrificing something for 40 days and he would jump right back on it, right? Kind of like how we had to sacrifice our social lives for, well, I guess a year, 2 years, 3 years, but we're going to jump right back on it because we were making a sacrifice in the name of keeping ourselves safe, right? He kind of quoted his quitting smoking like that, which made me really worried. And I asked him, well, why he was quitting smoking at this time of his life, because he had never wanted to quit smoking before. And he said that because it was really cold out, and he couldn't smoke in his apartment, he didn't want to go out, which made me really worried because 40 days later it might not be so true anymore. And I asked him, well, what other effects of smoking had he noticed? Does he have any health problems from smoking? He didn't, because he was pretty young. But he did have financial issues from smoking. That I did kind of like when he said it, because that's going to be true 40 days from now, 40 years from now, probably be even more true 40 years from now, right? So that part I did like. And so I checked up on him after the end of Lent. Obviously, I checked in with him remotely at this point. And I told him, how do you feel about his 40 days not smoking? And he felt really good about it. He didn't want to smoke anymore. And plus, even though it wasn't cold out, he was worried about something else now, right? The same thing that all of us were worried about going out of our doors back in April or May of 2020, right? Which was a silver lining, let's put it that way. But the reason I got inspired by the fasting was when he mentioned how much money he was spending on cigarettes. I realized I was spending even more money on food, especially if you only counted the food that I really didn't need, that I was overeating. Even that was more than the amount that he was spending on cigarettes. So I went on my first 48-hour fast at the beginning of Lent. And then on March 11th, it was the anniversary of Fukushima. And I distinctly remember that anniversary because I had a conference in Japan that year, and I was worried about the conference being canceled. I still went, and I used to like collecting Japanese coins. I was collecting the 100 yen silver coins and the 100,000 yen gold coins. And when Fukushima hit, the Japanese yen really strengthened as a result. And I felt kind of guilty because people were dying and I was benefiting from it. I still have that kind of sentiment. During COVID-19, my portfolio has really exploded. I don't know why. My portfolio does very well for disasters, and it always gives me a sense of guilt. And so I fasted for another 24 hours on the anniversary of Fukushima, and then the next day, the WHO declared the pandemic. I didn't want to fast at the beginning of the pandemic, but I kind of got forced into it. What had happened was that I was a wreck that day. And I went to the grocery store to look for my favorite brand of kielbasa sausages. It's made with turkey and no additives, and they were sold out. But I was so gung-ho about getting it that I went to another store and they were sold out. And I went to another store and they were sold out. What was really funny was that I didn't even care that I didn't have toilet paper. All I wanted to get was the sausages. And I realized how big of an eating disorder I had, that I couldn't function when my favorite food had run out. I realized that I needed to get over that because I've had times where I've been late to work because I insisted on getting a certain food and they were sold out. I've had times where, actually just last week, fortunately I didn't get into a wreck over it. I had gone to Five Guys, and they were closed because for some reason they couldn't get connected to server and they couldn't take orders or something like that. They couldn't connect to the computer network. And I told them I could pay them in cash and if they could just ring it up later. And they couldn't do that. And I was upset, but I realized that I could, I could blog about that, and that's not very good for them. That they couldn't even take cash and just at least jot it down and then ring it up later. I mean, they're still paying their employees to stand around doing nothing, right? This is really silly in my opinion. And I didn't get upset over not getting my favorite foods. I was able to work later that day. I do private tutoring. It's all over the Zoom obviously right now, but I was able to get back to work without a hitch. See, had that happened 2 years ago, a year ago, I could have been in a serious wreck and really jeopardized my job. That's how attached I used to be to food. I would get anticipatory about eating something, and then when something would happen, like the store being closed or the food being out, or all of a sudden getting another job assignment and not having time to eat, or what else? You get the idea. All of a sudden losing my appetite and not being... I got very upset one time when I was traveling. I was in Taiwan, and there were so many things I love to eat in Taiwan. I didn't have a big enough appetite, and I got very upset to the point that I almost wanted to hurt myself. That's how addicted I used to be to food. I don't know if there's an equivalent to that with drinking or drugs, that you're so upset that your body won't let you take all the alcohol or all the drugs that you want, that you almost want to kill yourself. I don't know if there's a similar concept to that. I don't think there is. But for food, there definitely is. And I realized how big of an addiction I have. I was kind of constantly going, I need to do a little bit of a meme on that. That's how I behaved 2 years ago, unfortunately. I'm not proud of it anymore. But, so I went on 3 fasts that first month. And when I got my credit card bill, I used to use a credit card for all my food purchases. When I got my credit card bill, I got a little bit of a bill shock. It was a lot lower than I was prepared to pay. And I realized, oh my God, I could save up for a vacation. At the end of this COVID-19 crisis, I'll have enough to go on vacation. Little did I know that this thing would go on for a year or 2 years, and now I'll really have enough money for a major vacation. Maybe I'll even travel to space. Hopefully it'll be a lot cheaper by the end of COVID-19. I think all of us in our lifetime, if you're my age, in our lifetimes will probably fly to space, if only to go from A to B here on Earth, right? Okay. So last year, for the beginning of Lent, I went on my first fast. My friend quit smoking. Unfortunately, he has slipped quite a few times since quitting. That's why I encourage people to use Lent as a trial period, not as, I'm going to sacrifice something for Lent, or I'm going to fast a few times for Lent so that I can know what it's like to fast and then make an informed choice, right? I'm going to stop smoking for 40 days and then at the end of 40 days make an informed choice about whether I like smoking better or whether I like not smoking better, right? Keeping in mind that oftentimes it's really a choice, right? It's not a continuum that you could smoke half the amount that you used to smoke, right? Smoking is an addiction, right? It's a choice on whether or not you want to continue fasting, right? It's not a choice of whether or not you want to give up a meal here or a meal there, right? It's a lifestyle, right? Keeping that in mind, right? I really liked it, though. Let me list all the benefits I liked of fasting. I like having control of when and where I eat. When I went to Five Guys and they couldn't start up their computer, I was able to jump right off of it and go eat something else and go back to work. I like that part. I really do. It's caused me a lot of strife in the past. I've lost jobs over it. I've lost friends over it. I've really made myself miserable about it, and I behaved like a junkie. I really did in the past. I liked how much money I was saving from not compulsively eating all the time. I really liked being a source of inspiration to other people who had other problems, right? Like my friend who was smoking. I really liked having more time on my hands. I really like that my stuff doesn't become a mess from eating. My car is a whole lot cleaner now. I really like how, Well, as a side effect of being in control of when and where I'm eating, I like how I'm a lot more presentable, right? I'm teaching on Zoom and I'm not munching away compulsively. When I was checking into my apartment and talking to the landlord, I wasn't compulsively eating all the time. I guess it really helps. It really helps that in the COVID world, you can't really go out in public and be eating all the time because you have to cover up your mouth, right? I really like that, right? It puts a barrier between when you think about eating and when you actually get to your food. I like it. Oh, the fact that we have to wash our hands puts a barrier, right? Many years ago, my mom was trying to lose weight, and she had a lot of trouble with it. She would think that she wasn't eating anything, but she was constantly munching on something. She never sat down to a meal, and she thought she wasn't eating. And I hated to point this out to her. I really did, because I was living with her at the time. And it was really silly watching her eating 6,000 calories of snack foods all day long and then claiming she wasn't eating anything and why was she overweight. It really was silly to watch it day in and day out. I felt like I was going insane watching it. Now, having to do something before you can eat, like taking off a mask or washing your hands or sanitizing all the packages that you got from the store. Having a barrier in between when you think about eating and when you eat really helps. I often wish that our mouths came with like a little bit of an alarm. Like anytime you put something in your mouth, an alarm would sound. I mean, you can still eat it, but it reminds you that you're eating, right? Now here's where it gets really funny. My mom had been reading online about the dangers of, I can't remember which ingredient this was, trans fat, or maybe it was MSG or high fructose corn syrup, one of those ingredients. And she wanted to cut back on the ingredients. She didn't quite give it up, but she wanted to cut back. And so she started reading food labels. What was really silly was that she was still cheating and consuming the ingredient in question. I can't remember which one it was, by the way, but she was still cheating. But what was really funny was that because she was forced to read food labels, it slowed her down and she ate considerably less. Not just of that one ingredient, but of food in general, because it slowed her down. It wasn't hand to mouth anymore. It was hand to, I got to read the labels, let's Google what that was, oh, I can eat it. And those few extra steps really slowed her down. And unfortunately, food has become... See, fast food is a really big... it's definitely not a good idea, right? The fact that you could do something really fast to get food from your hands to your mouth, right? We need a concept of slow food, right? Things that put a barrier in between food from your hand to your mouth, right? That would be really nice for the health of the Americans, right? Anyways, so a year ago I went on a 48-hour fast, and I've been very happy ever since then.